LIMS Tales for ELN. Just want to give a little bit of my background. As Megan mentioned, I'm the president of CSols. My original training was as a chemist many years ago. Spent a number of years working on the bench, both in analytical chemistry and quality control, and also in R&D, working primarily in the chemistry, petrochemistry area. Then from there moved into working in the consulting arena, mostly with life science companies, and then a short stint with a web company, and then lastly with CSols starting in 2001. So over the 30 years of my career in laboratory informatics, I've seen a lot of things come and go, a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas, a lot of marketing, and also I've seen a lot of really useful work that gets done. And what I'd like to do today is try and share, sort of cut through some of the marketing speak and really delve into how do we determine what the best thing for us to do is. So that's the purpose of our talk today. The agenda is going to be a brief discussion of, what does this lab of the future that we're attempting to achieve look like? I want to spend some time talking about the different applications and functional footprint and how that has changed over time and how we see it being in the future. Thirdly, move into discussing what the possible approaches to solving the actual problem of achieving this vision are. Spend a bit of time on the markets and specifically what we see as the sort of independent assessment of what the market is right now for both the LIMS and ELN vendors, and that's public domain information. It's not our own information, just proviso there. And then lastly, talk about how do we move through a decision process for any particular group or company, and how would you move through that in a logical way so that you are going to achieve what you want. So that's the program for today. We will be using the polling feature, so a little bit new. So there'll be a couple of places that we will want your input, and that's solely so that we can make our remarks appropriate. All right, so let's describe, before we talk about the lab of the future, let's talk about how it is right now. So as any of you that have worked in a laboratory or are working in a laboratory now, you know that on the left-hand side we have very sophisticated equipment, and this is, what I'm showing here is not particularly sophisticated, but we have very sophisticated equipment, very heavily automated, giving us lots of throughput of samples, automating the analyses as much as we can, usually software associated with the instruments, which is figuring out the complex science that's going on. And then typically, depending on the environment that we're in, we may have personal reviews, we may have people reviewing the information from other people. Essentially, we have, in most labs, we have a paper review process. So we have this very complicated and sophisticated equipment that ultimately prints out some paper. Then we have a person or persons who review that paper for suitability, and then we distribute the results to the customer. And unfortunately, even though those results may be distributed electronically, there typically is a large stack of paper that is stored for historical purposes or to support the final answer in paper files. So for most people, we have somewhere between a fully electronic and a fully paper system. Somewhere in the middle is the world we live in right now. So if I'm a lab analyst and I'm working in one of these labs, and this is sort of a normal process today, I probably have a LIMS of some sort.